Every now and again, I have to update the show. I got to repoint myself to something I think will add value to your life, be enjoyable and useful to you, but at the same time keep me fulfilled and interested and sustained. So this is around that time. It's time to make some changes. That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast. Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams. Well, we should be masters of change, or at least flowing with change. So this should be more comfortable, but it isn't. I'm a nostalgic guy. Sometimes I look backwards too much. And so it's hard to let go of some topics and some styles and some people and audience members and directions to take on totally new and unknown ones. But you know something? It's that ability to jump into the unknown, not knowing what will work, that not only makes life interesting, but makes us better leaders. And that's more important now than ever. So before we dig in, let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there about what you need to do to be agile, but we're focused on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's hammer down those fundamentals to create a truly unique and powerful force in this industry. If you like this episode, do me a favor, tell some of your friends. Well, it's obvious that there's not as much value in professing the virtues of Agile or even teaching its practices. It's time to move on. And it's time to move on for a couple of important reasons. One, nothing stands still forever. We've been doing this for a quarter century now, and it's time to update. I would be doing you a disservice if I kept talking about the same old things over and over. Now, if you've been following for any length of time, you already know that I believe strongly that the economy has changed so much that we must pivot now. You know I'm not a big fan of some of the things that we do, like serious play or costuming up for retrospectives. I've always had a bit of a scowl on for those kinds of practices, and if you look, where are those practitioners now? The market on that kind of stuff has bottomed out. But the good news is, what we do for a reason. You were attracted to this profession because it did something for you. It allowed you to do and be something that mattered to you. It felt good to help people. You could stay around technology without being buried in it if you didn't want to be. And we were showing people a better way. That's the part of the manifesto that always got me, is the part just above the four quadrants. There's got to be a better way to build the things that we're building. Well, let's look at where we are right now. When I go on LinkedIn, I see many of us saying, I've been out of work for 2.5 years. I'm about to lose my house. Some of them I think are probably fake, but they're saying, I'm living in my car. I've applied for hundreds or thousands of jobs. Even though there's some fakes out there, I know people personally who are struggling with these conditions. We all of a sudden feel very unloved. We feel like we're not useful. And that's a hard place to be. Every human being deserves to feel like the work that they do matters. And that's just the point. The work that you do does matter. It matters a lot. But the thing that matters most is your unique and distinct voice. And I've done a ton of episodes on that, so hopefully you know what I mean. But there has never been a better time to flex it. This will sound either pessimistic or cynical or maybe both. But if you haven't noticed, the corporate world doesn't owe you any favors. Your loyalty means nothing. Your performance means nothing. If it's time to cut, it's time to cut. And in the Agile space, in fact, in the tech space, the cuts are happening everywhere. The reasons are not limited to AI, but they're partly coincident with the arrival of the promise of automation and removing humans from so much of the work that we do. I'm not the first person to say it, but of course, AI works well. It's interesting. It's not going anywhere, but there are certain things that humans will always have to do, or at least the high leverage, high value activities that only humans can do and do well will continue to drive demand. But it requires that we once again change, that we pivot, that we adapt. If you believe me when I say we need to be more entrepreneurial, great, follow my entrepreneurial stuff. Join me in the Foundry community where I talk about what I'm doing to generate leads, drive business, drive revenue without relying on the traditional model of I need a job, you got a job, I need a job. This requires that we do what Agile was designed for, to move forward, find solutions where the answer is not known. where the road is uncertain and nothing is proven. That's what Agile does. It proves stuff. It's experimental, but it's empirical. We don't just scattershot into the dark. We make a hypothesis. We try something that we think will work. The finesse point is how far do we go in a given direction before we say this isn't working, we should cut it, versus this isn't working, we should keep trying just a little bit longer. You know, it's fascinating. We claim to be the masters of pivot, architects of change. We should get this better than almost anybody else. And yet when we throw thousands of resumes into the open market and it yields nothing, the applicant tracking systems reject us. The companies are fake, the jobs are fake, they're scams, they've already hired somebody, employers are testing the waters. We keep doing it. We should be the first ones to say, okay, after a couple of hundred resumes, this is no longer working. I need to change my approach. And to change your approach, you're going to have to get better at doing things that we're not natively good at. If you're going to do that, if we can no longer passively apply for jobs, but we have to go out and seize them, if opportunities are not passing downstream into our open mouths, we're going to have to create them. We're going to have to go out and find them. If you're going to do all that work, might as well do it for something that's real and authentic and true to you. Now, I don't care what that is. For me, I believe in our humanity. Yes, people talk a lot in the Agile space about empathy. Yes, being able to listen and hear and understand and relate so that we can work together better, influence more. Those are important skills. You think everyone has that skill? Trust me, they don't. Being able to propose experiments even if we've never solved this problem before, even if it's not our expert domain, that's what we're good at. But we're also highly creative, we're ingenious, we're resilient, we're lightweight and nimble and effective. Use those skills to do things that you love to do. Because if you're literally going to be sleeping in your car, worrying about where your next dime is coming from, downsizing your home so that you can weather this storm, do it for something that creates value and fulfillment for you for the rest of your life. You know, when I started the show, it was all about the hell yeah feeling of we know how to do something differently and better. We don't care who likes it. We don't care who gets it. We're prepared to fight the resistance to help people come along. We know not everyone will come along at once, but over time, this will spread. This will help. This will make a difference. And it did, didn't it? What so many of us fail to realize is that hasn't gone anywhere. Even if people regard Agile as a phase, as a set of techniques that are now outmoded or outdated, even if you believe that, you can't argue that helping companies hit their targets, meet their goals, rise to the challenges of whatever is going on right now in the economy or technology and beyond, that will never go away. This is not a time of crisis. This is a time of change. Believe it or not, there's no shortage of money. It's just a question of finding people who are willing to spend it on things that they value and ensuring that what you offer meets that demand. Simple. Netflix was initially in the mail order business of DVDs. It was rental by post. They eventually switched their model to streaming, but that's not how they started. They offered convenience, great service, great selection for people who valued that. But when the market shifted, when the physical media died, they changed. They simply offered convenience and selection in a totally different way. And didn't that shift completely change the market? So if you're willing to do without a home, without a job, without an identity, why aren't you willing to go without a title for a little bit? So what if the word Scrum Master no longer has any resonance? So what if the word Agile Coach returns 0 results in a job search? Who cares? Figure out what the industry needs, but more importantly, figure out the difference that you want to make and use your Agile skills to make them. I see people out there trying to make the hiring process better. Good. Introduce your solution. Bring your ideas to bear. It's that creativity, that courage, that boldness that we must embrace now. We have to reclaim our rebel attitude. And believe it or not, I don't think that means swimming with all of the other fish in the AI pool. I think it's not a trend, but at the moment there's an awful lot of hype and an awful lot of people are jumping on that hype train. Guess what happens when the wheat is finally separated from the chaff? When we finally hit the reality of where AI is, what it can do, where it needs to be, eventually a lot of this mania will drop off. Like, I don't know anyone who switched from an Agile coach role to some kind of AI expert role and is suddenly making a ton of dough, the same that they made as an Agile coach or better. I hear lots of people saying, I'm an AI expert. Great, where are you working? Well, not really working right now. So shifting your title is not going to fix the problem. The problem isn't that you don't have a great title. The problem is in the things that you were never trained to do, which is how to identify the real value that the market rewards. Help people solve important problems that they couldn't solve without you. And then knocking on doors, starting a podcast, changing what you talk about on LinkedIn so that people can find you. If you were a switchboard operator in the 1960s and you're still hanging on to hope that the title of switchboard operator will still give you a decent, fulfilling life and profitable existence, you're probably wrong. When change happens like this, the status quo and the titles that go with it are overturned sometimes overnight. What's happening with AI is not new. What's happening with AI that's interesting is the expectation of speed and ease that it's injecting into the market. We're already laying off people in advance of certainty that those people can be easily and effectively replaced with some kind of AI. Maybe it can, maybe it can't. Too early to prove. Either way, we're feeling the impact in industry. When we see that trend happening, we don't panic and we don't rest. A true badass sees a goal, sees a challenge, and doesn't get emotional about it. Yeah, it can be scary. Yeah, it can be sad. At very least, it's uncomfortable. Someone moved all the cheese and we don't know where to go next. Yeah, you do. Nothing that's happening now is really new. It's just more current. And I'm not certain of the answer, but I do have an opinion. And so do you. And that's what I want you to bring to market. That's what I want you to start thinking about. That's what I want you to start getting obsessed about. Whatever it might be, for whatever industry, using whatever framework or no framework. Get excited about this time because this time is all opportunity. We think it's bad news, but it isn't. However, it's going to require a new set of skills. It's going to require a new level of courage. It's going to require even greater emotional control, presence of mind, creativity, intuition, all of that stuff that we teach in the Forge. The time is now to deploy those tools. These are survival skills now. The good news is you already have them. You just don't think you do because we're thinking about this all wrong. We see the current state as being an extinction level event. All of us agile dinosaurs simply won't make it, right? Wrong. The ability to pivot and bend and flex, and this should make sense, is probably the most important skill to help companies survive this massive shift, the kind of shift that we really haven't seen. I mean, I remember the introduction of the personal computer. I remember Y2K. I remember the introduction of the internet, the smartphone, the app revolution. A lot of those jobs are gone too. If you were a Y2K consultant, you're toast. I don't know what the market is like for iOS app developers, but I suspect, just based on the kind of job ads that I see, that it's not as rich, not as lucrative as it once was. That's okay. It's not what you did before that matters. It's what you do next. And the good news is your agile skills will always be valuable. In fact, I would go one further to say it's your strategic edge. But this is the time to be creative, to be authentic, to say what you're going to say, because you think there's no audience for what you believe, how you feel. The truth of the matter is there's 8 billion people on this planet. I guarantee you can find 1 or 2 or 3 companies that are interested in what you have to say and how you approach solving the problems that are pressing in industry now. So don't give up, my badass agile friend. Those among us who are here for the right reasons will continue to thrive and survive. Stick to it and hang in there. Because I think these are the things I want to talk about now in Badass Agile, more about the leadership skill, more about the economic survival skills, more about your distinct creative voice and how that creativity solves real problems that people will pay a premium to solve. And at the same time, how does our advanced sense of leadership create opportunities to make the world better in a time where the world is clearly fractious, confused, angry, and in some cases, desperate? The world, including business, needs healing right now. And I think what we do and how we do it has a very important role to play. Stay tuned. I'll be bringing you more of this. And for staying with me, I thank you. I'm eternally grateful. Thank you for having a listen today. Don't forget to check out the Forge and Forge Genesis. You can go to learning.fusechamber.com or you can DM me directly at chris@badassagile.com. I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, stay badass.